Thank you for joining us this morning. Now let's get the show on the road. The cry to end police brutality continues to increase in volume as celebrities and youths across the country hit the streets this week to protest. The protest came on the backdrop of a recent killing of a young man in Delta State by the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The youths are asking for the scrapping of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad as this incessant killing of young people cannot continue. To look at this with us this morning, it's my pleasure to welcome a legal practitioner, Mr. Segun Awosoya. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, man.
We also have a security consultant, Mr. Sanusi Ture.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
I want to know what you think about these calls for the scrapping of the Federal Anti-Robbery Squad.
Yeah, I think I believe the calls stem from the campaign that started in 2017, given the study of the crime based on the trajectory of the Nigerian police and their tactical squads in relations with impunity, the culture of impunity. You know, back in the days, we used to think that we are dealing with a few bad eggs until we realized that there was no consensus or a general meeting where they agreed to be killing people and nothing will happen. So based on that, we found out that we need to engage the culture, and to engage the culture of impunity, it is not by claiming that some people are bad and some people are good, because it depends on the influence, you know, over their life, especially within that institution. It's all about how you can begin to increase the leadership, give them a sense of purpose within the organization, and also increase the supervision. But again, we look at the laws that actually empower them to operate. And as at that time, we're dealing with the 1943 Police Act, which simply was a constabulary, which makes them a police that takes care of the people who rules us, you know, as against those that they are meant to serve, the people who they are supposed to be protecting. So you really couldn't blame them, because this is an institution that is based on a paramilitary institution where they take orders. So they can't really work based on their own initiative, except for the orders that they are given. So with that, we embarked on engaging all arms of government, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executives. So from there, we have a bill, Police Trust Fund Bill, and then the Police Act of 2020, which tends to democratize the police and reposition them for enhanced service delivery. So that's where we are today. But the call for NSAS increased because people are beginning to see that there's a gap in the implementation and execution of the change that they have been crying for, which is about the translation of all those legislation into action on the street, where police officers are still acting with impunity, where phones are still checked on the street, all under the guise of we're trying to fight cyber crimes, where people are being abducted from their homes under the allegation that they are Yahoo boys, and then they are being extorted, you know, and the rest of it, and then to the point where people are being killed extrajudicially. So this is one of the things that the people now want to say, and now demanding from the IG to shut down this unit. It's not just about the SARS, by the way. The SARS were just the poster boy for the call, because they were leading that impunity, you know. But every single tactical squad that we have that has the power to kill based on probable cause, so that they should shut them down.
Has the power to kill?
Yes, yes, they have the power to kill. SWAT have power to kill as well, you know. Okay. But in our environment, you know, a lot of arbitrariness, you know, is involved. So which is why we're saying things should be done professionally.
Okay. Mr. Ture, you're a security consultant. I would like us to look at how effective the squad has been to start with, because some civil groups are saying that SARS should not be outrightly scrapped. It should be reformed. So let's look at how effective they are, whether these calls to reform them is in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm also coming from a police background myself. Used to work for the Metropolitan Police. The functions of SARS is very important in our society. We have a lot of very violent crimes. And with the advent of technology, some of those crimes have even, you know, evolved. And some of the technological aspects that are involved with these crimes make it easier for SARS officers to be able to apprehend criminals. So when he talks about the the issue of mobile phones, IMEI devices are generally used in crimes that are involved with violence. For instance, kidnapping. Someone is kidnapped, your IMEI device is taken. A robbery occurs, your IMEI device is taken. So sometimes you can see why maybe these guys might be looking within that direction. But, there's a standard operating procedure for everything you do within law enforcement, and talking about discharging your weapons, they don't, when you say they have a license to kill, yes, but within certain parameters.
Yeah.
There are reasons why you can discharge your firearms, and in the defense of yourself, and if in a direct response to telling a suspect to stop and they haven't stopped, and they've committed a very violent crime, then you can discharge your firearms.
Yeah, but you can discharge without killing them.
Obviously.
You can discharge them on the leg.
It depends.
On the arm.
If you are in defense of your life or someone else's life, it can be fatal.
Yeah.
So there are reasons why, but you just can't go and arrest someone with the phone, beat them up, and do all sorts of the crazy things that we hear. Not all officers are like that. They're not. We need to first of all, get that right. The Nigerian police force has a lot of very fine gentlemen, fine officers who are doing their best within a very, very difficult economic, environment to do the right thing. So in calling for the end of SARS, I can understand where a lot of people are coming from. We get frustrated by the fact that things happen and you talk to authority and it seems as though nothing is being done about it, even though things are being done. But sometimes those things seem like a drop in the ocean because we have a myriad of issues surrounding security generally, not just within the police, but across the board.
Yeah.
So as a result, you get this emotional reaction to the fact that we must do this. But we have to be very careful, right?
So, but let me just permit me to interrupt you.
Sure.
When you say emotional reaction, there are certain things that help to build that emotion.
Agreed.
One of them is where leadership appears not to listen to the people. There are rules of engagement, but the parties that are supposed to be engaging are not playing by the rules. Case in point, you have the police authority, the police institution as it is.
Yes.
There are rules they're supposed to operate by.
Yeah.
But how many of them are following those rules as they are?
Yeah. Okay. Now, Segun and I were discussing this back in the back room earlier. We all want a functional police force or security generally, but there are certain things that we need to have in place for these things to work. For a police officer to be extremely professional, right? There are a myriad of things. Now, these things require funding. They require funding. You want somebody to be professional in carrying out their job in service provision, but you have not provided the actual environment.
Wherewithal.
Yeah, the actual environment for them to be functional. I explained something to Segun earlier about when I was in a bank, and I was part of the project management team that created this bank, and I created the security department. Something as simple as giving the security guards lovely uniforms and having given them that uniform, proper standard operating procedures that they carried out to the letter. And when I asked them whether there was anything else they wanted, they said, no. Oga, you have elevated us. You have made us feel important in this bank. They were so happy to come to work every day. These are things we don't look at. The state of mind of individuals. There are a lot of problems in Nigeria as a country, generally, where things have been left dormant for so long that the culture of not doing anything has been is now ingrained in our daily lives,
Okay.
that it makes it very difficult for a lot of things to happen.
We'll just take a quick break. I like where you're going, providing the environment for the policemen to abide by the rules. That environment includes uniform and mental image creation. But we'll look at
many other things.
We'll look at all of this when we come back. We're looking at policing, not just about ending the police brutality, but policing in the country generally. How can we get it better? We're back in a moment. Don't go away.
The demand by Nigerians for an end to the Special Anti-Robbery Squad has been a long-drawn battle, with hashtag #EndSARS campaign trending now and again. However, the trigger of the latest round of protests is a video that went viral on social media recently, showing some people chasing a SARS vehicle after a man was allegedly shot and thrown out of the police vehicle. But the Delta State Police Command later denied the allegation, claiming the video was fake. Days later, a suspect the police said was behind the video was paraded by the command in Asaba. Whether fake or genuine, that video set off an outrage across the country, with calls for the scrapping of the police squad and for Nigerians to troop out in protest against the Special Police Unit. That call was not ignored, as youth began marching in the streets of several cities across the country, demanding an end to SARS. Lekki Phase 1 was the point of convergence in Lagos on Thursday, October the 8th.
Yes! End SARS! End SARS! End SARS! Enough is enough!
Celebrities Fowles and Runtown led the protest from there to the government house at Marina. They were accompanied by men of the Nigeria Police.
Now, you can't tell the difference between SARS and armed robber. They have no uniform for identification. First of all, you can't approach someone that you're trying to protect when you're not able to identify yourself and you're not wearing a uniform.
We are saying end SARS now because the system is not working. We know what they're doing on the road. They're not on the road to solve any crimes. They're on the road to take money from people. They're on the road to find who their next victim is going to be, who they're going to take to the station, who they're going to extort money from.
A representative of the Lagos state government also addressed them, assuaging their fears before they left. Youths representing different organizations and schools in Kwara State said they wanted FSARS scrapped and not reformed, as proposed by the police authorities.
Do you want to be king? No! Do you want SARS? No!
They were accompanied by security operatives from the post office area of Ilorin to the police headquarters and were received by the Deputy Commissioner of Police.
Your petitions are well noted, will be documented, forwarded to the Commissioner of Police, Kwara State Command, who will in turn forward it to the Commissioner of Police to look at it and take deep and proper action.
From the police command, the youth moved to the government house where they lamented the killings by SARS operatives. The calmness that characterized the protests in Lagos and Kwara states was absent in Imo State.
Everybody back!
The protesters were dispersed with tear gas by the officers of the Imo State Police Command. In the process, the divisional police officer of Oji Division pulled out his gun at the protesters. In Benin City, a group of youth converged on Ring Road before marching to the NUJ Secretariat and later to the Edo State Police Headquarters to express their grievances.
People are not even afraid of armed robbers. They are now afraid of the police that are supposed to maintain law.
It was banned 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, but now we are saying end to SARS.
The protesters also hit the streets in the nation's capital, Abuja. Besides the placards calling for the end of SARS, their chants included a demand to see the Inspector General of Police. The force PRO was on hand to address them. Regardless of the current situation, it now remains to be seen whether the demands of the protesters to have the Special Police Unit, SARS, outrightly ended are met.
Thank you for staying with us. We're still looking at this matter of ending police brutality and policing generally. Before we went on that break, Segun Wosanya had, who's a legal practitioner.
I'm an advocate, actually.
An advocate.
Civil rights advocate.
Civil rights advocate. He had started this matter of the end SARS, 2017, right?
Yeah.
And he's talked about what has happened since then. And then Toure has talked about what it's been like to provide the environment, because I asked a question about rules of engagement. There are operational modalities, what they call modus operandi, that's provided for any institution. But even for the personnel in that environment to work within that operational guideline, there's something about, what do you call it, mental...
State of mind.
State of mind.
State of mind,
and
yeah.
which needs to be created. But let me bring it back to you, who's been advocating this thing. The calls for end SARS. I mean, yes, is it just about end SARS?
We need to just understand the meaning of that simple
because
hashtag.
the protests and all that are still going on. There's one happening right now in
Of
Ikoyi.
course. It will go on because the authorities are not listening to the people. If they listen enough, it is not all those things we're seeing today. We have actually mentioned it to them long before now that it's going to get to this point. If they continue to be insensitive to the call of the people. And what are they asking for? They are saying shut down impunity. End SARS simply means end the impunity, the culture of impunity, where people get away with crimes. If an armed robber commits a crime with a gun, we know what the penalties are. Yeah. But what about the police officer who is paid by taxpayers' money, maintained by taxpayers' money, who used the state's gun to rob innocent citizens? And then he gets to be transferred and we keep seeing him. What does that tell us? If super corrupt people or cultists in our environment are seen wearing police uniform and brandishing guns on our street, what kind of confidence or perception do we think we should have about SARS operative or special operatives? If you call a unit or units within the police system special tactical squad or special anti-robbery squad, special anti-cultism or anti-kidnapping, and they are no longer special, they are all over the place collecting bribes, seasoned people, indiscriminately killing people. How do you want people to feel towards that? Do we call our environment a civilization where law and order is being broken by the same people who are supposed to uphold law and order? So these are the issues. And they are saying, we have heard you talk about reforms in 2015, 2016, down to 2020, and nothing has changed on ground. People are still being abducted, people are still being killed and raped in the police station. So we're simply saying, in as much as we understand that the objective of the call is to shut down the impunity, that is all tactical squads who are acting as law unto themselves. And the holistic and the end goal is about reforming the entire police in Nigeria, the police NG. But what have we done about the end goal? We have been able to facilitate laws. The Police Act is there. The new Police Act, the Police Trust Fund is there also to solve the problem of this money issue.
The new Police Act, there are issues with that one. Some people are complaining about the issue where police can just arrest you.
No. There's no such issue. The provision there is very clear. The term that they are interpreting in lay terms is a global provision. There's something called reasonable cause. There's something called probable grounds. You understand? Without that, you are not even protected because there should be a reason behind an investigation in the first instance. There should be a reason why there must be warrant. If you are telling me that a police cannot arrest somebody society, have deemed to be an armed robber caught in the process, that he has to first go and get a warrant before he can arrest such, then there's a problem. And also, police is not just there to engage crime. They're also there to stop it from happening in the first instance. So we're not condemning the action of it. What we're doing here is different from what's happening in America. We're not defunding the police. We're not scrapping the police. No, we're simply saying there are elements within the police structure that are actually making life difficult for patriots in the system. Where there are actions or cultures within the police that are destructive, that are disturbing the perception of the police itself. And an average patriot in the police right now is finding it difficult to be professional because they are rewarding impunity. How will you feel if somebody who is 10 times your junior is now your superior and he can't do anything up there? And then you are still here receiving very low salaries and then being blamed for his crimes. So these are issues that we have. And nobody can speak about it in the system but us. And that's why we also say that when people get robbed by police officers, get kidnapped by police officers, or their families get killed by police officers, who do you think they will run to? The same police that they cannot trust? And that's why we needed to build something. And that's why we built a bridge over that institutional gap by creating Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, where everybody have been running to now. But of course, instead of creating another silo that the police can easily see as a competition, we merged our operations with the Complaint Response Unit, where we can strengthen the institution and help them win trust from society, which is one of the fundamental provisions of the Police Act 2020, which also states that police must operate accountably and transparently, and also that they must uphold fundamental human rights according to the African Charter and several other charters that Nigeria is part of. So this is exactly what we're discussing. And if we are to implement all the laws that we have in Nigeria pertaining to the criminal justice system, there is no room for SARS or rogue police officers operating in our system.
So the problem is not that we don't have the laws as in country for us to implement. The problem is that no one's listening or looking at the laws.
The issue is that the president just signed the Police Act into law of recent. And with the advent of this, a lot of things are going to happen, very quickly. But again, we don't engage culture like a switch. Things will not just happen immediately. Police didn't get bad yesterday. It has been based on years of dereliction, running into 90 years of the police system. But the argument here with the people who are saying NSAS and reform police NG is simply, you cannot prioritize a 28-year-old ad hoc program in the system over a 90-year-old police institution. So, and also we cannot begin to say that the tactical squad, who are merely less than 10,000 people, are far more important than over 350,000 police officers that are there, who have the same basic training. So we must, when we're dealing with cancer and cancerous nodes, you do not culture cancerous nodes.
Okay.
You cut the cancer.
And I will ask a question. We need to quickly dash to Ondo. We'll come back to look at this whole matter because I was asking the question, New Police Act versus State Police. You will look at that. Sure. But we'll dash to Ondo State where one of our correspondents, Dare Doe, is on standby to bring us up to speed what's happening. Hello, Dare. What's your situation now?
Hello, I'm reaching you live from Kiribo. This is Akpoi Ward 2 in Ondo State. This is in the south. By south, I mean the senatorial district is south. And voting is on the way. If you can look on my right, that is what a lot of people are voting. And what we've observed so far since the voting process started is crowd control. They've been trying to ensure that people stay in line. They've been trying to ensure that people comport themselves. What they did here as soon as voting started was to prioritize the elderly, and they allowed them to vote first. But that didn't also go well as well, because many of the old ones needed help from the younger ones in the queue, but security operatives said that wouldn't happen, and that caused a little bit of altercation, and that has been resolved now. But what you can see is the voting process, which started at exactly 8:30, and from what the officers here, the electoral officers here said, it would end by 2:30. But by standard, if you're still on the queue and you're here, even if it's 2:30, you still get to cast your vote. Safety protocols set by NCDC because of COVID-19, yes, it's still also a problem. The queues are packed. There's actually no space, some not wearing the face mask, and security operatives have stepped in at so many points to get people to at least create that distance. But all they're getting is people just want to cast their vote, get it done and over with. Back to your studio.
Thank you very much, Dare. We'll get back to you to let us know what's happening. Indeed, voting has started, he says, and it's supposed to end about 2:30. But as far as you're online, in the line. You'll still be able to cast your vote even after that 2:30 hour. Thank you. We'll come back to Daria and the other correspondents who are spread across Ondo State.
Impressive that they started at 8:30.
Indeed, indeed. Things are getting better.
Yes. Now, Mr. Ture, how important is it to this cause that the president has stressed again, I think last night or so, his commitment to reforming the police force?
Well,
the police. It's not. It's no longer a force.
Yes,
the police. Yes.
A welcome move by the president. It was very timely, and I think it's important. I would have preferred if he had come out with a statement live. It would have been better. It instills more confidence, and would help to dampen the agitation around the country. It is like Shagun mentioned earlier. These problems did not begin yesterday. It's taken a very long time for these things to develop. And there are, for example, he has worked on these bills and, helped to make them come to light. They are there now. The president has signed the 2020 Police Act, 2020 Police Act into law. And there are provisions there that will make policing much easier and would make it more professional, as it were, because obviously they have been operating with very archaic rules and regulations and laws and whatnot. But having said that, it's easy to just have something on a piece of paper. To actually implement these things means there needs to be proper funding attached to it in terms of, the protocols that are involved, the standard operating procedures, and all those things to be carried out. You must have the proper infrastructure in place to make accountability and transparency be the focal point of your operations. So, for instance, there are two key areas that we mentioned. The custody area is the engine room of a police station, where everything begins, the whole judicial process begins. So, in terms of officers, when they make arrests, in line with this new act, and the administration of the detainee and everything till they are released is very important. But how you do that means you need to, first of all, remodel our police stations. Police stations are old and archaic. Doesn't work. We want our arrested persons to be in humane environments. Yes. First of all, you're not supposed to bring an arrested person into the glare of the general public. You bring them through the reception area, everybody sees them. It's not supposed to be that way. There's supposed to be a back way entry. There's supposed to be a custody area where everything happens. That front desk is merely an inquiry point. So first of all, you need to redesign that. Then they're looking at hiring 10,000 more people into the force. Why don't you create a new job function called a custody officer, where their thinking is, the culture that they will develop is different from what already exists and is based purely on the administration of the Criminal Justice Act and also humane treatment of individuals when they're brought in. So that creates a sort of control when officers who carry out these arrests are bringing their arrested persons. So you, as the custody officer, deals directly with this individual. You are the only person that has the keys to the cells. Nobody goes in or comes out without your say-so. You are the person that books in this individual. But before you book them in, you question the officer and ask him, why was this individual arrested? Is it in accordance with the Criminal Justice Act? Is it in accordance with the Police Act of 2020? Sets of series of questions that must be ticked. And when they're ticked and he's satisfied, then detention is authorized. So there are a series of things that need to be done and very quick wins that could be done immediately so that there is some kind of human rights abuse reduction for now, before we bring in technological services that help to further reduce that. Because the whole world at the moment...
Mr. Ture, all this you're saying, I'm sure will sound like grammar to the Nigerian, because the policeman we come across on the street who does the arresting and all that, I mean, we would question the level of his intellect to be able to do all these things that you're talking about.
You heard what I just said. I said there are 10,000 people that they would like to recruit, right? That they want to
There
recruit.
should be a different breed.
A breed of people that they recruit solely for this job.
Okay.
Within police stations or commands. So that will help you first and foremost to control the excesses of officers out there who will no longer be able to bring people in arbitrarily and get away with it. I mentioned something to Shagun earlier. I don't know if you remember Sunday Bada, may God rest his soul. He used to run for Nigeria. He was also the DPO of Ikoyi Police Station. In 2009, when I came back, I went to see him. We've been friends for years. And as we were leaving, he looked in the cell and saw an individual and said, "Are you still here?" And the guy said, "Yes, okay, I'm still here." So where's the investigating police officer? He called him and said, "Why is this guy still here?" He said, "Oh God, the people will bring him. We'll not see them again." He almost went crazy. He was seeing me off. He said, no, let's go back to my office. Bring the guy out. And he had to really plead with this individual and say, sorry. He had zero tolerance for unprofessionalism. But again, he didn't have a system that makes it possible for him to see who's in the cell on a daily basis. Technology does that. You sit in your office, the DTO, the DCO, the DPO sit and can see who is in custody.
Yeah.
You have a custody officer who only puts people in the cell that have due process applies to, that have been arrested according to law. These are the things that we can do immediately to, first of all, sanitize the whole area of custody. An officer will no longer be able to just go out there and arbitrarily just bring someone in and then ask for bail. But again, like we said, there are so many impediments for these things to be extremely effective because there are lots of costs involved. The Metropolitan Police budget for 44,000 officers is 3.5 billion pounds. That's close to 2 trillion naira. There you go.
That? 1/5 of our total budget?
Yes.
There you go. So our officers, first of all, are grossly inadequately paid. I personally believe a constable shouldn't earn anything less than 400,000 naira as starting salary.
Now, don't you go start seeing another problem in Nigeria.
But the president has done it for the education sector by increasing salaries. And look at that. Look at what he has done. The most critical sectors in any society, law enforcement first and foremost, education and health. Why are we not spending on these areas? We have very serious problems at the moment, security-wise, all over the country. Now, when there are no controls in your society, opportunistic crime goes through the roof.
Yeah.
How are we going to deal with the opportunistic crimes? You're supposed to be able to put in controls that reduce the opportunistic crimes so that the law enforcement agencies can focus on the habitual criminals.
You know, this matter is very interesting and at the same time very sensitive as well. Yeah. The question of, when you say low-hanging fruit, what comes to mind quickly is consequence management.
Yeah.
Do we have consequence management system? Who gets rewarded when they do right? Who gets punished when they do wrong? Is that happening anywhere? We'll talk about that when we come back from this break. Just stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Wasborn sent this in. That's Sam Wasborn says, many bad eggs in SARS. My nephew was held at gunpoint on the highway. He was forced to unlock his phone even after he showed them his ID card. He's a banker. He was taken to an ATM and 100,000 naira was extorted from him. He was left emotionally brutalized. Professor Nakena says, police must curb the excesses of the few delinquent and overzealous PSAS officers who are maligning their image. Already irascible relationship between the public and the police. They must be reformed by independent body of security experts set up by the IG and superintendent by the Police Service Commission. Quite a number of tweets coming in, more of them talking about ending SARS. But this matter, before we went to America, I was talking about consequence management. There's a new Police Act. Fantastic. It's been signed into law. How many of the policemen even know about the new Police Act? How many of them know their rights? How many of them understand what their benefits are by the new law under which they are supposed to be operating? How many citizens even know their rights as regards where they stand with the policemen and all of that? So, and then the question of consequence management. Let's move to you.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a lot of orientation, that's, public orientation and also within the police on the new culture. You see, when you're trying to change a culture or engage a culture, you're not forcing it on people. You're showing them, this is what you're being used to, and this is what is new. And these are the benefits to you if you do right. From there will be a reward system. For example, if you look at the police itself, there should be a leadership, a role model, so to say, a leadership strata that begins to impress on them what they will get or gain if they do right, which is the reward system itself. And then there should be effective management or supervision of every cadre within the police structure. Those are absent. And why? We have the Police Service Commission, whose duty is to recruit police officers, to promote police officers, and also to discipline them. But again, if you report 2 police officers for a crime, it will take 2 years or more for Police Service Commission to come out with the final verdict of this. And why? Funding. Because the IG is responsible for funding the Police Service Commission. So if he doesn't want them to work, he certainly just use this money for something else. So that has to change. If you don't make the Police Service Commission independent, then there's going to be a problem. They will continue to be moribund. And then the police officers who are other ranks, they also need to have their voice in there. Because at times, when a boss tells you to go and bring 5 Okada towards the weekend, what do? Do you say no and disobey a direct order? Or do you just carry it out and then wait until it becomes a culture, to the point where your conscience no longer pricks you when you extort money from people? And again, when people say SARS, we have this problem of this ubiquitous brand syndrome, where they tell the child to go and buy Surf. Any detergent works. Or go and buy Fleet. Any insecticide works. So when you see a police officer who is not wearing uniform, they are all SARS as far as Nigerians are concerned. They are all SARS. And I can tell you for sure, like in Lagos State, for example, since 2017, the federal SARS in Lagos have been so wonderful and so cooperative. They don't do patrols. They don't go around. All the caricatures that we see out there, they are nothing close to the SARS in Lagos. They wear wonderful uniform. In fact, most people don't even know them because they only go out when they are engaging armed robbery cases. But can I say the same thing for anti-cultism or anti-kidnapping in Lagos? No, I can't. Because most of the crimes, because we receive all the calls and the texts and the distress calls and all, we know where they are coming from. And again, the word SARS, even the IG can't keep track. Because we have federal SARS, we have zonal intervention squad, every state have their own SARS, and every police station now have their own runs team, some organized crime syndicate who throws away their uniform, wear T-shirt, and go and kidnap people in the evening and ask for ransom. So all these people will be blamed their actions will be blamed on SARS, and then the SARS operatives will be demoralized when they are hearing things like NSARS. So what am I saying? That is not to say that SARS in some states are not terrorists, domestic terrorists. In Rivers, for example, I don't think that is policing any longer. That is the homegrown terrorism, straight. There's no mincing words. And there are some CPs in this country who are just there simply because they feel the position, it's their turn to oppress people and it's their turn to rule. And they do as they please. If you report the crimes of their fellow police officers to them or the people under them, rather than for them to take action, they will see it as an attack on them and they will threaten you and they will find a way of roping you in some things and then getting you incarcerated. It has happened severally. And then if you begin to report these CPs, it will take donkey years for them to be questioned for the crimes that they are committing. So who will see all these things? And the reason why we have not even given out or published our reports in 4 years is simply because we don't want to create unnecessary tension or blacklist the police of our country. We are being patriotic about this. That's why we're not creating anything outside the police, but helping to strengthen the institutions. The data from the Criminal Complaint Response Unit, I doubt if the IG have seen them. If he has, he will not be speaking the way he's speaking today. So the issue about scrapping SARS or reforming SARS, to the public, let them know that we have identified the dysfunctionality within this system and we're shutting it down for maintenance. You don't argue with them about, no, we are reforming, we're not. When your words about reforming for the past 10 years have been falling to the ground. So it's a perception thing. Understand and empathize with the people. Let know that they are the ones dying, not you. And do what they ask. shut it down and bring it back, you know, with a different, with a reimagined mindset. And that's exactly what we're saying. So there's no argument about that unless you don't have humanity.
Ture, Emmy says, consequence management in Nigeria police. Perhaps you have not been to the area stations. I can't bet it doesn't exist. But sometimes people say some of these things out of pain.
Frustration, yeah.
Out of, I've been there and I've seen this thing.
Yeah.
What's the hope?
Well, you know, life in itself is quite difficult. And we live in a very difficult terrain. Nigeria is a difficult country to live in. Like you said, a culture has been built over time, and it's going to take time to break the walls of those cultures down. Steps are being made, right? The Police Act has been brought in, signed into law. And we hope and we pray that these things will have, you know, an effect on the professionalism of the police officers as time goes on. Yeah. But as I'm glad, you know, Segun clarified the issue of the FSARS and all the other tactical units that are, you know, probably moonlighting as SARS officers, and everybody is confused and whatnot. And also looking at the fact that the Police Service Commission, which is supposed to be a body that, you know, monitors the behavior of the performance of officers in order for them to be promoted. The Complaints Commission should actually be part of them, and they should not be funded by under the IG at all whatsoever. You know, and I don't think they should also be headed by an ex-police officer. Exactly. I don't think so. You know, they should be headed by maybe a lawyer or someone of great repute in society that can put it, you know, have a team that can actually go out there quietly, look at what is happening in police stations, you know, monitoring performances of the force in general, come up with reports and look at who's doing what. Now, the X squad, which is part of the police, which is almost like their internal affairs, was quite functional in 2017. Yeah. Very functional. I've had 10 experiences where people called me and told me about erring officers, and I called the then head of the X squad, DC Amechi Lumilu at the time, and immediately he would tell me who to speak to in the different states.
This X squad you're talking about, is it what the common man calls RoboCop in Lagos? No. X squad are an internal organization that deal with the police, the erring officers. Okay. So there was an incident that happened near where I live, and my friend called me and said her driver had been hit by some big man, and the big man got upset, dragged the driver to the police station, and he was manhandled by the police officers. When she told me, I called. Next thing, within an hour, that officer was arrested and taken to Area B in Ikeja. This happened on many occasions. So they were quite effective. Now they've been disbanded as a federal unit and domesticated in states, so which I think is also wrong. It shouldn't be that way, in my opinion. It should come from the federal, and they are away from all these individuals, you know, and they can effectively carry out their performances, their duties, and make sure that officers who do err are dealt with. Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that are happening. You know, you go to a police station, they're asking you for bail, which shouldn't happen. You know, you're being locked up. I've been to a police station recently, and the investigating officer is telling me to write this and write. I said, excuse me, are you serious? I will write what I want to write based on my statement. You're not to tell me what to write. Are you kidding me? Yeah. He looked at me and said, no. I said, please, if you don't behave yourself now, I will report you. I'll take your badge number and everything. And I said, do you realize I'm a former police officer as well? And looked at me and sort of backed off. Now, a lot of people don't know their rights in Nigeria. Yeah. The sensitization part of sensitizing the people on the police 2020 Police Act is also very important. Yeah. People need to understand what their rights are,
what is supposed to happen when you are arrested, what is supposed to happen when you go into a police station.
Who should be teaching the people this? Who should be making the people aware of all these
We
things?
all should. We all should. We all should take responsibility. Because ultimately, security is our
Everybody's
responsibility. It's all our business. We shouldn't leave it just to the police alone. So the different groups, the different groups, the different bodies, the different, everybody, develop websites on how to engage the police. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work. Training of officers as well. And we need to train officers on ethnic sensitivity, religious sensitivity. These were trainings that we had to do on a regular basis. Because if a Sikh officer is brought, a Sikh detainee is brought into the custody, arrested person, you must understand that the turban he wears is a symbol of his religion. You don't touch it. Do you understand? You must be sensitive to who he is.
Yeah.
Some of these things need to be, officers need to understand, because we live in a very ethnic and very religious society. All these are part of the things that the police need to understand. There's a lot of work to do. And we all have to be engaged in carrying out this work.
That's what we're saying. We should be very careful about the kind of people we bring into the system. If you look at the recruitment process of the police, as aware, most of the time you have politicians pumping in their thugs into the system. We have imams, pastors, and the rest bringing in the people who are not even fit for society into the system, vouching for them that they are fit. And then some people even struggle to make sure that they become not just police officers, but they get pushed quickly into the SARS command. So when they now get there, you can imagine how they're going to use that power.
But this matter of, Enzo also says SARS is a true reflection of who we are. We, the police, that is we Nigerians and the police. Says we all need cognitive restructuring.
But we're not moderating ourselves, are we?
Well,
this matter of, recently the IG approved community policing, not just the IG, the government generally signed off on community policing. And a lot of people have hailed that move. Now,
we didn't hail that.
Okay, I said a lot of people, I didn't say everybody. The matter of recruitment comes into mind because there was this thing about recruiting constables from society that will be part of this whole community policing thing. What's the guarantee that the right set of people will come in? Hold on. I have a friend. I always tell this story because when we were in school together, I served in Kebbi, Burning Kebbi. That's where I met him. Nice guy. But he's always he's the one that would always scatter everything. But he's one of the most gentle and generous people. But he will make sure that everything is scattered. He's very stubborn. Then I hear that he's in the police force. And when I met, I say, guy, are you okay? What are you doing in the police force? You're a madman. You shouldn't be there. He said, don't go there. He says, we need to do things right. And I'm in the police force to do things right. Okay. He's in the police still today. And he's doing things right. And when you see him when he's working, very disciplined. He's the kind of person that you're a thief. He knows you're a thief. And he'll come and say, please put your hands behind your back. Or please put your hands where I can see them. He's that kind of person in this country. I've also met policemen who stopped us along the road. Please, may I see your papers? I was shocked. Please, may I see your papers?
Yes.
Okay. He looks at it.
Yes.
He said, okay, you may go. You may go. Nigeria. And then the man in front of you is another policeman and say, hello, officer, please, can you move so that... You want to teach me how to do my job? Yes. See
this man, though.
Yeah.
So how do we ensure that the right kind of people come in? And how do we even help to affect the thinking of those who are there already, to let them know that we do value you, but we also want you to understand that we are human as well?
There are so many gaps in the way we throw around terms in this country. The word restructuring, the word community policing and the rest. But let me correct the impression. And I'm sure that a lot of people have cashed out of the idea of the community policing principle as to mean, police version of Amotekun, raising their own counter, intelligence, whatever, to engage the community. That is not the idea behind the community policing. Community policing concept, it's about you raising police officers, giving them the sense of responsibility to the community outside criminal investigation. We only see police officers in Nigeria when they are trying to solve crime. or when they are trying to implicate you, or when they are trying to look for reasons to extort you. But we want that to change. We want police officers to go to school and teach civics in school. We want them to go to universities and engage people so that as they grow with you, they know you. So when they say this guy has done something, is it not so and so? I know your parent, I know your mother, I know everything. So we're not throwing perception around that I think because you are young, you are a Yahoo boy. Or we too, on our own side as citizens, because he's wearing black and he's a police officer, he's corrupt. So that will make us understand ourselves and understand the principle that says that the police are the public and the public are the police. So it is about bridging that gap between the society and the police, that we have community policing principles. It's about you seeing police officers and not being afraid. It's about our children seeing police officers and saying, I want to be like him when they grow up. Or my hero is a police officer. Or you are reading an article or an essay in school from nursery school and they're saying, I want to be a police officer like so and so. That's exactly what the idea is about. It shouldn't cost Nigeria 13 billion. Despite the fact that we don't have money now, they are collecting 13 billion for community policing principle. And then they say, what do you want to do with the money? They say, I want to buy weapons. I cried. Because this should not be happening. It shouldn't. Intelligence-led policing. In Nigeria, the idea of policing is like about, society is getting complicated. Because of that, we should be driving armored tank on the street. It is not the weapons that solves the problem in society. It is your intelligence. And that's why you see in the UK, you don't even carry guns. No. So you don't need to. I have not carried gun for the past 4 years now. And I'm policing the police. We are making arrests. We are recovering funds in billions. And I have not physically fought anybody. It's about intelligence and building trust. And you can't build trust without engaging the community and the people. So these are the things we're talking about. When you're saying you're hiring constables, we're saying just like the road safety field marshals or special marshals, they didn't have to go and pay somebody. They just say, look, I have I'm an active citizen and I want to contribute to my society and I want to get some basic training and be able to control traffic or be able to educate people about road usage. With that, that's exactly the things that we're looking at with community policing. Engaging people, graduates for this time around, who can help with custody management, who can do ITs with custody. So we don't have to spend money on,
let's hear from today. We really have to go. Understand we're out of time.
We have to go now.
Well, touching on what he's saying, community policing is exactly what it is. Officers engaging with the communities in which they find themselves in. So as in the Met Police, for instance, your first 2 years means you must walk the beat. There's something called walk the beat. That means you must get to understand the community that you're in. It means you have to go out on the street, either sometimes walk or be part of a team. Generally, two, you're always engaging with the people in the community. What that then means is that these individuals will pass on information to you. Yeah. Now, that information, on a daily basis, we have an intelligence database which you upload.
But they've got to trust you to handle
That's what I'm saying. Because you are part of that community. Yeah. They see you on a daily basis. They know you by name. Yeah. They know your name. You know them. So when things are happening within the community, the community are the ones that call you and say, this is what this individual is up to. Yeah. That information, you upload it onto the intelligence database. It forms part of the Borough Intelligence Database on individuals who are either habitual criminals or those that are developing criminals. So So
they're on the watch list.
They're on the watch list. And then when people are going out, officers are going out to work, you have specific information of areas to look into on how you will police the areas that there are hotspots and whatnot. To prevent crime.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sanusi Ture, security consultant. Thank you very much for coming. And we also had Mr. Segun Awosoya, legal practitioner and a civil rights advocate. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. Very interesting conversation indeed. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation in just a moment. Do join us.